At 18, I got engaged to my nominal older brother. But he only ever saw me as a child. Returning to our new home that night, I trembled as I reached out to untie his necktie. He brushed my hand away and casually chuckled, "Do you think I've become enough of an animal to sleep with my own little sister?" The next day, he flew abroad, citing work. For years later, we ran into each other at a party. At that moment, a senior was publicly confessing his feelings for me. And he, holding a wine glass, leaned against the wall, watching the drama unfold with an air of indifference. I was only planning to step out into the courtyard for some fresh air, but I didn't expect to run into Alex, my older brother whom I hadn't seen much of in 4 years, right by the door. And I certainly didn't expect a senior to stop me for a confession. I shook my head, feeling helpless. "I'm sorry, senior, Charlotte, is it because I'm 4 years older than you?" He interrupted me, as if he'd prepared for this. "Actually, older men are very good at taking care of people, like me, for example." Alex was leaning lazily against the wall, wine glass in hand, adopting the stance of an uninvolved spectator. The senior must have been planning this confession for a long time. The moment he finished speaking, everyone from the private room poured out and surrounded us. "Say yes, say yes. Charlotte, the senior is so handsome and rich. You won't lose out by saying yes." I waited until the commotion died down, then pursed my lips and finished my original sentence. "I'm sorry, I already have a boyfriend." Not far away, Alex subtly raised his eyes. The senior furrowed his brows, showing some impatience. "You've been saying you have a boyfriend since freshman year, but how come none of us have ever met him? Call him over now and I'll believe you." "Exactly, Charlotte, using that excuse to turn people down is too weak." I was starting to get annoyed too, and argue back stubbornly, "We're getting married this year. Why would I lie to you?" I had actually figured it out shortly after seeing Alex. I'm about to turn 22, and he came back to marry me. Unless something unexpected happens, he'll probably be gone again shortly after we get the marriage certificate. The senior was enraged by the string of rejections. "Still talking about marriage? Charlotte, are you messing with me? Am I being too nice to you?" He pointed his finger at me, his face sinking, and was about to start cursing. But his finger was gripped by a larger hand, which then bent it backward without mercy. The boy's piercing scream echoed through the entire hallway. The one who struck was Alex's bodyguard. He kicked the back of the senior's knee, and the boy couldn't keep his balance, dropping straight to his knees in front of me. The senior's parents, who had just rushed over after hearing about their son causing trouble, walked past us as if they hadn't seen us. They bowed slightly to Alex and said anxiously, "Mr. Hill, what? Has this boy upset you?" Alex didn't answer. The moment he raised the hand holding the wine glass, the senior's father tactfully took it with both hands. Alex looked at me, raising one eyebrow slightly, and smiled. "Aren't you coming over?" The group of people who had been egging us on earlier didn't dare say a word now, and they even instinctively made way for me. I obediently walked over to Alex, catching a light scent of alcohol on him. A girl was brave enough to call my name, though her tone was cautious. "Is this your boyfriend?" Alex has always treated me like a child. He definitely wouldn't like me saying that on my own. I shook my head to deny it and introduced him. "This is my brother." No change of emotion was visible on Alex's face. He simply absently rubbed the engagement ring on his left ring finger, the one I had put on him. The senior's parents couldn't figure out Alex's intentions and were sweating. "Has your anger cooled, Mr. Hill? Otherwise, I can discipline this punk for you again." Alex raised his hand to signal him to stop. "No need." He then asked someone to get his suit jacket, which he held in his hand, and asked me, "Do you want to play a little longer, or come home with me?" The curiosity in the eyes of the people behind us was practically spilling over. I absolutely didn't want to stay and wait to be questioned. I moved a little closer to him, subconsciously seeking a sense of safety. "Brother, I want to go home." The driver's instinctive action of raising the partition to the back seat made me feel somewhat out of place. The car was so quiet that I could even hear the steady sound of the tires on the highway. Beside me, Alex was rubbing his temples with his eyes closed. I curled my hands on my lap, then gathered the courage to say, "Brother, do you have a headache? I can massage it for you." It had been about half a year since we last saw each other, and my relationship with Alex had returned to an unfamiliar boundary line. The man's low, magnetic voice was tinged with a faint laugh, which was incredibly alluring. Then thank you for your trouble. I was tricked into this party right after getting off the plane. I didn't even get a chance to tell you I was back. I paused for 2 seconds before realizing he was explaining things to me. It's okay. I knelt on the seat and straightened up. I reached out both hands and placed them on his temples, massaging him carefully. With Alex's eyes closed, I finally dared to openly examine his face. He was handsomer than anyone I had ever seen. A car horn broke the silence. The driver slammed on the brakes. The inertia threw me to the side. Ah! Just as I thought I was going to fall, a pair of arms wrapped around my waist. Alex simply picked me up and sat me sideways on his lap. I subconsciously wrapped my arms around his neck. Our eyes met. His ink-like eyes clearly reflected my current bewilderment. At this close distance, I caught a stronger smell of alcohol on his collar. Snapping back to reality, I tried to get off his lap. But Alex held my waist, restraining me. He stared straight at me and suddenly asked, "Are you dating?" I looked at him in confusion, not understanding why he was asking. What? Alex calmly assessed my face, then suddenly raised his hand to pinch my chin and lift it. I couldn't help but breathe lightly, too nervous to look at him. Alex was drunk, and the usual pressure he deliberately restrained was now undisguised. You've grown up, and your guts have too. Brother. I clutched the fabric of his shirt at his shoulder, calling him tremulously. The man's murmuring voice got quieter and quieter, yet seemed to hide a kind of unspeakable fixation. The one I raised, shouldn't she belong to me? He lightly curved his lips. How dare you run off with someone else? I wasn't sure what Alex meant by those words, and I didn't dare think of it in that way. After all, the time we spent together in those 4 years probably didn't even add up to 3 months. He had even rejected me before. He certainly couldn't be described as in love with me. But right now, he was so drunk he would only hear what he wanted to hear, and he wouldn't let go of me. I had no choice but to drop my hesitation for now. I awkwardly raised my arms and circled his shoulders. Enduring the heat rising to my ears, I whispered, "I'm yours. I won't run." Alex rewarded me with a light kiss on my hair. Good girl. I called the housekeeper ahead of time and asked her to prepare the guest room for Alex. But when he arrived home, he walked past it and followed me into the master bedroom, the meaning clear. This was something that was bound to happen eventually. After all, Alex and I were getting our marriage license in 2 weeks, on my 22nd birthday. When my hand touched his necktie, my heartbeat was so loud that I couldn't help but wonder if Alex could hear it, too. In the confusion of facing the unknown, I couldn't say how much of it was anticipation. Alex looked down, watching me quietly. A few seconds later, just like 4 years ago, he gently brushed my hand away. You're still scared. I pursed my lips. I'm sorry, brother. But this was also different from 4 years ago. More than fear, it was nervousness. Alex circled my wrist and lifted my hand. He tilted his head slightly, and his lips lightly touched the inside of my wrist. No need to apologize. That night, I slept nestled in Alex's arms. But I still subconsciously kept my body tense. In the dead of the night, Alex lightly stroked the back of my head. Do you want to marry me? I lightly nodded and answered obediently. I do. As if to prove my statement, I nestled further into his embrace. I think I must have a little bit of a crush on Alex. Alex and I grew up together, or rather, he raised me. He's 7 years older than me. When I was little, my parents were expanding their business in Africa. Conditions were tough, so they left me in the country, and I lived next door at his house. He told me to call him brother, and at that time, we truly felt like siblings. But at 18, my dad's company fell into crisis due to local unrest. My dad struggled to ask me, Charlotte, will you marry Alex? We don't have to get the license yet, just have the wedding first. Dad's company needs funding from the Hill family. I strongly resisted. I only saw Alex as my brother. But my dad was hospitalized from overwork. I sat by his hospital bed and finally compromised. However, when my dad went to talk to Alex, Alex rejected him without hesitation. He said, she is my sister. The next day, Dad brought an uncle home. When I returned, the two were sitting on the sofa. Dad didn't look at me and sighed. After a long pause, he said, I'm sorry, Charlotte. Uncle Wong's wife passed away, and he will treat you well. Alex won't have you, and I truly have nowhere else to turn. My mind went blank. I couldn't believe my dad planned to sell me off like this. Uncle Wong was about the same age as my dad, and his daughter was older than me. My dad's eyes darted away, mixed with pain. I ran to Alex's house, soaked in the rain. Alex opened the door, his brows tightly furrowed when he saw me, my school uniform completely wet. He pulled me inside. What happened? Tears and rainwater mixed together, dripping onto the floor. I desperately grabbed his sleeve and begged him, "Brother, will you marry me, please?" I didn't want to die, and I couldn't stand by and watch my dad die either. After a long silence, Alex agreed. The night of the engagement party, we returned to the new house he had bought. Alex had been toasted round after round, and his steps were a little unsteady. I had mentally prepared myself all day. But I still couldn't stop trembling as I reached out to untie his necktie. Alex leaned on the sofa, avoiding my hand. He supported his forehead with one hand and looked at me playfully. "What are you trying to do?" I squeezed my sweaty palms, closed my eyes, and leaned in to kiss him. Alex leaned his head back, avoiding me again. He chuckled softly, as if looking at a child throwing a tantrum. "You don't need to do this. Or do you think I've become enough of an animal to sleep with the little sister I raised?" He braced himself on the armrest and headed toward the guest room. I grabbed his hand, fought back my helplessness, and looked up at him. "It's okay. After all, we're going to get married sooner or later." Alex frowned and scoffed gently. He raised his hand and flicked my forehead lightly. "What's the fuss, little girl? Settle down." Past events intertwined into a dream, and when I woke up groggily, I remembered that I had slept in the master bedroom with Alex last night. I thought that even without this incident, I would probably fall for Alex in the near future. After all, Alex's type was my ideal partner during my teenage years. The other side of the bed had no warmth at all. Alex seemed to have been up for a long time. I checked the date on my phone and suddenly remembered my plans for the day. I finished washing up and went to the study to find Alex. "Brother, I'm going out to celebrate a friend's birthday today. We're going to a bar tonight, so I might come back very late." He wears a pair of rimless glasses when he works. They don't make him look strictly proper or restrained, instead, they make him look like a refined scoundrel. Alex leaned back in his swivel chair and glanced at me carelessly. "What if someone confesses to you publicly again tonight?" My cheeks felt hot under his gaze. I stammered, "I'll just say I'm getting married soon." As soon as I finished, I closed the door and retreated to my room. My friend initially said it was just the four of us girls. But when we arrived at the bar, there were 4 boys already sitting at the booth. She had used her birthday as an excuse to trick us into a social mixer. I stared blankly at my friend. She explained pitifully, "I couldn't get enough people for the mixer, and they didn't want to come. Please, Charlotte, just sit with me for a little while. I know you have a boyfriend, and I'll try my best not to let any of the guys talk to you, okay? Please, please." In fact, she did a very good job. She had no trouble chatting with 2 of the boys by herself. I nestled in the corner of the sofa, playing on my phone, enjoying the peace. Alex happened to send a message. "What time are you done? I'll come pick you up." I hesitated for a second but decided not to hide it from him. "I want to leave right now, brother. My roommate tricked me into a mixer." Then I quickly added, "But I haven't talked to any of the guys." The moment I sent it, the sofa beside me dipped. It was one of the 2 boys who had been chatting with my roommate. "Come on, it's no fun being at a bar and not drinking. Try this." He reached out and offered me a cup of an unknown liquid. I picked up the juice that had been in front of me the whole time and took a sip. I refused politely and distantly. "I'm sorry, my boyfriend doesn't let me drink. I'll just have this." His eyes kept following the juice in my hand. Seeing me swallow, he raised an eyebrow. "Is that the rumored boyfriend again?" He smiled, "Everyone's heard about it, how your boyfriend never shows up or visits you at school, but he's still got you so lovesick that you refuse countless guys for him." I gave a perfunctory smile and didn't reply. He didn't try to find another topic and slowly drank his own drink while sitting beside me. Alex didn't reply to my message. He might be angry. I suddenly felt a bit restless. I didn't know if it was because the boy next to me wouldn't take a hint and leave, or if it was Alex's cold shoulder. A fire in my heart was involuntarily starting to burn brighter and brighter. I felt so agitated that I wanted to go out for some air. The boy seemed unsurprised by this, tilting his head with a smile. You look like you need a break. My consciousness was sinking. I couldn't quite hear what he was saying, I just desperately wanted to extinguish this heat. He hooked his arm around my shoulder and told the others, I'm taking her outside for some fresh air. She seems drunk. My friend waved her hand. Okay, take good care of her, then. I was half dragged, half carried by the boy as I stood up from the booth. The person next to me was kicked squarely in the chest. I lost my support and fell forward. Unexpectedly, I was caught in a familiar, yet somewhat chilling, embrace. The agitation in my body was temporarily soothed. Boss, the juice was spiked. How should we handle it? I was carried horizontally. A slow, deliberate voice of judgment came from above my head. Break his right hand and dump him at the police station entrance. I buried my face in the man's neck, and the pleas for mercy behind me faded away. I'm sorry, I was wrong, I won't dare do it again. Don't come closer. The cold AC in the car pulled back a little bit of my consciousness. I realized I was sitting sideways on Alex's lap. Gidge, I feel so bad. I held on to him tightly, feeling like I might cry. He patted my back lightly, his gesture deeply reassuring. I'm taking you to the hospital now. Just hang in there. The cool skin on the side of the man's neck, faintly carrying the scent of agarwood, was like a silent temptation. It was as if I had touched starvation, I couldn't help but suck on that spot of skin. Alex's body suddenly tensed up. Not the hospital. I carefully kissed the side of his neck again, whispering things that usually made me blush intensely just hearing them. I want you, Gidge. The hand Alex had placed on my back began to warm up without me noticing. He glanced up, looking at the driver through the rearview mirror. The driver immediately understood and raised the partition. Alex held me a little further away from him. He seemed both annoyed and helpless, smiling as he flicked my forehead. Why are you provoking me now? Trying to force me to take advantage of you? He pushed my waist hard against him, forcing me to clearly feel that he wasn't indifferent. Charlotte, if I'm going to do this, I need you to be willing. It was probably the drug's effect, I couldn't control my emotions well. A little bit of grievance was magnified tenfold in that moment. Tears welled up in my eyes. I held his neck and looked him in the eye, tears streaming down my cheeks. What do I have to do for you to believe that I like you? Alex stared without blinking, a bottomless dark river hidden beneath his black eyes. In reality, his composure was slowly being dismantled. I boldly touched his thin lips and then pulled back. Unlike my shyness, Alex kept his eyes slightly lowered, watching my every move. Like an indifferent bystander. But when I took his hand, the scorching temperature of his fingertips couldn't deceive anyone. I placed his hand on me, as if sharing a surprising secret with him. Gidge, I've grown up. I wasn't talking about age. After a long silence, Alex finally spoke. But his words were directed at the driver. His voice held a difficult, husky quality. Turn around, go home. This was my third time being proactive. Alex didn't refuse me this time. The second time happened last year. After Alex flew overseas, his mother came to visit me once. She subtly advised me to visit Alex in Miami whenever I had time, and to cultivate our relationship while I was at it. I nodded and agreed repeatedly. Because of the debt payment for my father, I couldn't refuse any request from the Hill family. In the span of 4 years, I flew to see Alex quite a few times. Occasionally, he would come back too, for instance, for my birthday. My interactions with him were always subtly awkward. I didn't tell him in advance about that trip. When I arrived at the airport, he sent his assistant to pick me up. Miss Charlotte, the boss is still at an engagement, he can't leave right now. I'll take you back to the villa first. I quietly nodded. My phone screen was still on the latest news push notification. Top-flowing starlet spotted meeting rich second-gen boyfriend abroad at night, is marrying into a wealthy family just around the corner. The post included several photos of the two kissing at the club entrance, with the man's face censored. However, the build and style of dress were very similar to Alex's. Most importantly, the license plate of the car in the corner of the last photo was not censored. That was Alex's car. I propped my chin up and stared blankly out the window. A faint sense of loss lingered in my heart. But what right did I have to question him? I owed him in the first place. The maid had gone home, and I was the only person in the enormous villa. I opened my suitcase to unpack, already prepared for Alex to stay out all night. Close to midnight, the villa suddenly lost power. The only light source was the street lamp outside the window. A slight eeriness mixed with the silence. I sat in the corner of the sofa, hugging my knees, and called Alex's assistant for help. The villa has a blackout. Is there a backup power supply? The generator broke down the day before yesterday and hasn't been fixed yet. She softened her tone and reassured me, please don't worry, I'm bringing people over now to check the circuit. Before my phone battery died, there was a rustling sound at the main gate. I didn't have time to put on shoes and ran barefoot to the door, heart pounding, to check the electronic screen of the intercom. The next second, the main door was pushed open. It was Alex returning. I stared at him blankly. Gitch? Along with the surprise, the anxiety that had just risen instantly vanished. Before he even took off his overcoat, he picked me up. He gave a slow, slight chuckle. It hasn't been that long since we last met, and you've already completely forgotten what I said. How many times have I told you not to go barefoot? It sounded less like a reprimand and more like indulgence. Alex placed me on the sofa. He half knelt in front of me, holding my feet as if transferring warmth. Why didn't you call me about the blackout? I supported myself with my hands on my legs, unconsciously picking at the edge of the sofa. I turned my head away from him. I didn't want to disturb you and your girlfriend. What? Alex paused for a second, then a low laugh escaped from deep in his throat. He tapped the coffee table beside him with a bent finger. He fixed his gaze on me, enjoying the moment. Aren't you my girlfriend? Of course not. I was just a little baggage using marriage to tie him down. I only dared to grumble this dramatic thought internally. I opened the news article and silently handed the phone to him. He glanced at it and immediately explained, that's Mark and his girlfriend. We were talking about a collaboration in the same private room tonight. Mark was the second son of the Hahn family. He currently works as a vice president under Alex. So that was it. Alex held my foot with gentle pressure and asked with amusement, you don't trust me? I blinked, still looking away from him. No, I don't. I held back the corners of my mouth that wanted to curl up with delight and pulled my foot back from his grasp. Slipping into my slippers, I dashed back to the room. I'm going to sleep now. I haphazardly wrapped myself in the quilt. I allowed myself to happily roll around. The assistant quickly brought people to fix the circuit. Power was restored inside the house. The faint sound of water from the bathroom outside suddenly stopped at one point. My hand couldn't help but clutch the quilt tighter. After a long time, I pulled back the quilt as if making a resolution. I walked to the door of Alex's room and knocked. He opened the door halfway, his damp, fragmented black hair scattered across his forehead. The top button of his black silk pajamas was undone, revealing one side of his collarbone. He looked exactly like a rebellious young master. What is it? He smiled, planning a pre-sleep inspection? I choked up, looking up to accuse him. Gidge, I already know it was a misunderstanding. Can you please stop mentioning it? I tried to avoid calling him Gidge again. But years of habit still made me occasionally blurt out Gidge. Fortunately, Alex didn't care what I called him. He just asked, so, why are you here? I lowered my head, not daring to look at him. I was silent for a moment, then stammered, I want to sleep with you. It seemed like forever before Alex opened the door and stepped aside to let me in. I quickly moved to the edge of the bed with my head down and burrowed under the covers. My whole body was enveloped by the familiar slightly astringent yet clean scent of Alex. Alex picked up a bottle of water, put it on the nightstand, then turned off the light and lay down on the other side. The man's breathing quickly became long and even, as if he were asleep. I tentatively moved closer to him. He didn't react at all. I slowly snuggled into his arms, and Alex still didn't move. After taking a full minute to prepare myself psychologically, I raised my sweaty hand to undo the buttons of his pajamas. My hand was suddenly seized. Alex didn't open his eyes, drawing out his words lazily. Looking for a spanking? Can't even behave while sleeping. I felt like I had used all the courage I had for this lifetime in this one moment. I gritted my teeth and continued trying to undo his button. Alex ran out of patience, flipped over, and completely pinned me down. Our noses touched, and he asked in a husky voice, "What's all this fuss?" My hands were pinned against my chest, unable to move. I gazed at him confusedly and whispered, "You don't have another girlfriend." "Then why don't you want to?" The man above me swallowed. After a moment, he said softly, "You're still young." "I'm already 21. I looked at him intensely. "Alex, stop treating me like a child." This was the first time I had called him by his name. He still didn't seem to intend to let me go. My eyes couldn't help but sting. I couldn't tell if it was because I was angry at him or because I felt ashamed. Alex lowered his head and gently kissed my eyelid. "Crying at the drop of a hat, are you not a child?" He negotiated with me, a half smile on his face. "Can you wait a little longer? I've been working for 30 hours straight without rest. I really can't tonight." I swallowed my tears, feeling a bit sorry for him. "I'm sorry." "Then go to sleep." Alex was afraid I'd misbehave, so he held my hands and slept with me in his arms all night. After we got married, we talked about this incident one day. Alex calmly told me the truth. Being young was just an excuse he used to put me off. He could tell I didn't love him much back then and was mostly trying to repay him by offering myself, so he didn't want to force it. Back to the night I was drugged, turn around, not the hospital. Alex said to the driver, "Go back to the villa." The villa Alex bought. But the drug's effect gradually overwhelmed my reason, and my tolerance was getting worse and worse. My whole body was screaming for Alex. He held me tightly, softly reassuring me that we would arrive soon. Even though the driver was already going fast enough. I couldn't help but bite Alex's lip while we were in the elevator. Alex's self-control also seemed to have reached its limit. As soon as we entered, he placed me on the entryway cabinet, pried open my lips, and kissed me. Both our breaths were erratic. Alex didn't let go until my lips felt slightly numb. Kissing seemed to temporarily ease the drug's effect. At least I was a little clear-headed when Alex carried me into the bedroom. I stayed quietly and obediently in his arms. Alex lowered his eyes, his smile holding a hint of tenderness. "Not scared now?" His question triggered a flash of panic in me. "A little bit." I asked him pleadingly, "Will it hurt a lot, Gidge?" "I'm afraid of pain." He didn't answer, only told me to let him know if I felt uncomfortable. It was probably the effect of the drug, but I didn't feel the discomfort I had imagined. Later, when Alex intentionally slowed things down, I could even use my residual reason to think. He looked down at me and suddenly gave a light chuckle. "Why are you looking at me like that? What do you want to say?" I opened my mouth, then closed it again. After a moment of hesitation, I couldn't resist asking softly. "Have you ever, before?" I pursed my lips, trying to find a suitable word to say. Alex already understood what I meant. "Never." My hand gripping his arm involuntarily tightened. Why, after all, he was about to turn 28. Men seemed to automatically trigger their coaxing skills at this moment. He gave me the answer just before leaning down to kiss me. "I was waiting for you to grow up." Alex planned to shift his focus back to the domestic company now that he was back. So recently, he was always so busy that he could spend an entire day at the office. The next morning, I woke up groggily, my eyes too sleepy to open, but Alex had already finished washing up. He sat down on the edge of my bed, looking down as he fastened his cufflink. "Waking up so early?" I yawned, sat up, and leaned bonelessly against his shoulder. "Gidge, are you going to the office? Can I go with you?" Alex's lips brushed my ear, a whisper as tender as a lover's. "What's wrong?" I wrapped my arms around his waist and snuggled into his chest. My voice was stickier than melted marshmallow. "I don't want to be away from you." The man lifted me up slightly and gave a soft chuckle. "Why are you so clingy, baby?" I didn't think I was that clingy. I only ran to the kitchen to snuggle up to him while he was making breakfast while brushing my teeth. On the way to the office, I leaned on his shoulder and spread out his hand just to compare sizes. That was all. Not long after Alex brought me into his office, he had to go to a meeting that would last no less than 3 hours. I shook his hand and let out a frustrated "Ah." "I won't see you for that long." After saying that, I stood on my toes and kissed the side of his face several times. "Well, I guess I'll take the chance to give you more kisses now." Alex's breathing hitched, he cupped my waist and lifted me to sit on his office desk. "I raised you for this long and had no idea you were this good at flirting." My legs, dangling in the air, swung gently. I turned my face to the side and leaned in. Then Gidge, you should kiss me too. He pinched my chin with 2 fingers and turned my face back towards him. Alex lowered his head, but the office door was pushed open just before his kiss landed. Mr. Hill, it's time for the meeting. It was Alex's chief assistant, Amanda. She said it calmly, her eyes slightly lowered. She was the only employee I knew in this company. Alex's grandfather had mentioned her name many times, and he even occasionally invited her to eat at the Hill family house during holidays. He praised Amanda as the most promising among all the sponsored students. She joined Alex's company right after college graduation and only took 3 years to rise from a regular employee to her current position. I flinched, startled by the sudden opening of the door. Alex missed the kiss. He had no reaction, his back turned to her. After a moment, he lifted me down from the desk. He gently scraped the side of my face with a bent finger. I've arranged for someone to look after you. If you need anything, just go straight to him. Mr. Hill. Amanda interrupted him again, please attend to the important matters first, I'll see to Miss Charlotte's arrangements. The moment she finished speaking, Alex suddenly swept the pen holder off the desk. A few fountain pens rolled to Amanda's feet. He rarely got angry. Even now, he leaned back against the desk, looking at Amanda with a smiling demeanor. Are you done yet? The air froze. Amanda pressed her pale lips together and crouched down to pick up the pens one by one. I apologize, Mr. Hill. I was just worried about missing the meeting time. Alex was also toying with a pen in his hand. When Amanda came over and crouched down to pick up the others, he casually dropped the one in his hand right in front of her. He reminded her from his height, it seems you've crossed a line. Assistant Amanda. The title assistant made her grip the pens so tightly her knuckles turned white. His understated tone contained a sarcasm that only those in the know could detect. I went to the Hill residence for his grandfather's birthday when I was in 11th grade. Amanda was there, standing beside his grandfather. She wore a well-fitted formal dress and was notably beautiful. Alex's grandfather had a classmate visiting from out of town who casually teased, is this Aishwa and his girlfriend? They match so well in both looks and temperament. Which family's heiress is she? Amanda's smile froze when she heard the last sentence. Alex's grandfather explained Amanda's background. The classmate's gaze toward her became thought-provoking. Alex calling her assistant now was also a subtle reminder of her professional status. Amanda maintained her crouching posture, making her expression invisible. I know I was wrong, Mr. Hill. Alex silently squeezed my hand and walked past Amanda, exiting the office. I was alone in the office, propping up my tablet to binge-watch a series. I originally wanted to walk around every floor and tour the Hill group. But I was worried about bothering people to guide and introduce me. So, I was stuck in Alex's executive chair, watching the show out of boredom. I don't know how much time passed. I didn't wait for Alex to return. Amanda came in first and laid her cards on the table. She looked at my tablet screen and laughed out of anger. So, you've been watching this meaningless stuff all this time? I immediately sat up straight. I didn't quite understand what she meant by meaningless. I tried to save face. I occasionally watch educational movies, TV series, and anime too. Amanda gave a self-mocking twist of her lip. When I was 22, the only video I watched to keep up with Mr. Hill's pace was online courses. I widened my eyes, unsure of her implication. Amanda admitted it bluntly. I like Mr. Hill, can't you tell? Her eyes dimmed. I know that no matter how hard I try, I'll never be qualified to stand next to him. His wife must be a rich socialite who is absolutely excellent in every way. It won't be me. My gaze became complex and mixed with feelings. Before my compassionate nature could kick in, Amanda changed her tone and said to me coldly, but you don't deserve him either. To me, you're no different from a little good-for-nothing. You are the least qualified person to marry him. I was speechless and choked up. Qualified? What qualifications? I grumbled under my breath, do I need a financial check before marrying Alex? In that case, I really am the least qualified. After all, I had already cut ties with my father and his family. When I got engaged to Alex, I only had 100 renminbi left in my bank account. Amanda's face fluctuated between green and white. What nonsense are you talking about? Footsteps grew closer. Alex pushed the door open and walked in, his gaze passing over Amanda indifferently. Mr. Hill. Alex went to the window and pushed it open slightly. Then he sat down on the sofa, his legs crossed casually. Alex looked steadily at Amanda. He was unhurried, as always. Go write a letter of resignation and hand it in, and you can begin transitioning your work. The woman in front of him bit her lower lip until it was white. What did I do wrong? Are you so blinded by infatuation that you're supporting her like this? I rested my arms flat on the desk, pressing my chin onto them. After hearing Amanda finish, I turned my eyes to look at Alex. He just said in a gentle, cool tone, leave. Amanda understood Alex well enough. His patience with her had dropped to a critical point. If she argued any further, Alex would probably have her dragged out. During the few seconds of deadlock, a single tear from Amanda splashed onto the floor. In the silent office, the sound was exceptionally clear. I understand, Amanda whispered and turned her back to leave. The woman's figure was slight but stood tall as always. I silently sighed a little, but it wasn't enough to feel sympathy. Amanda was resigning voluntarily. With her abilities, she could easily go to a company no worse than the Hill Group. I held my phone and continued editing my resume. Alex came up to me, resting one hand on the desk, and glanced at my screen. Planning to find an internship? Ma'am, I looked up at him. I don't think everything Amanda said was completely unreasonable. I can improve myself and get some experience. Alex picked me up and sat down in the chair himself. He had me sit on his lap and listen to my analysis. I rely on you too much. If we ever get divorced, what will I do if I'm this useless? Alex slowly raised his eyes. Mimi, can you repeat what you just said? The hand he had on my waist began to move upwards. Only then did I sense danger. No. I pushed his hand away. I just said if. Alex looked at me coldly and didn't stop. I couldn't help but let out a whimper. Gidge, please don't. I was wrong. I won't say it again. Alex's expression softened. His aura became gentle again. He looked down, smoothed the creases on the hem of my clothes, and threatened gently, there won't be a next time. Still upset, I lowered my head and bit his Adam's apple to vent my frustration. Alex acted like it didn't hurt at all, placing his hand on the back of my head and rubbing it. Oh. This man must be so old his organs are failing and he can't feel pain anymore. Alex said that interning at Hill would also let me gain experience. I thought about it and nodded in agreement. I completely ignored the slight, ambiguous smile that had appeared on his lips. The next day, I was assigned to work under one of Alex's female assistants. We looked at each other, and she gave a faint laugh. Are you hungry? Huh? Should I take you to get something to eat? I tilted my head, which felt like it was topped with a question mark. Thanks, but I just ate too mochi. As I said that, I immediately reacted and rummaged through my backpack. I think I have one more, do you want it? No, no need. She quickly waved her hand, smiling as if her life was miserable. After working for 3 days, I was discouraged. Alex's theory was all wrong. They only let me handle trivial, easy tasks that didn't require any thought. For example, on the second day, I only printed 2 documents all day. I didn't learn anything useful, nor did I feel like I was contributing. After 1 week, I finally reached my limit. My resentment towards Alex reached its peak. I was even ready to give him the cold shoulder for a week. But the chief assistant said Alex had been in back-to-back meetings all day and hadn't even had lunch. I froze for a few seconds. I belatedly realized that the fatigue in his eyes when he came home these past few days was impossible to hide. The Cold War was unilaterally declared over by me before it even started. I spinelessly softened my stance. When work ended in the evening, Alex sent me a text telling me to go home, just like the previous days. I scrolled through short videos at my desk for nearly an hour, then walked around the building floor by floor. There weren't many people left in the entire company building. Besides, most of them leave work at 5:30 at the latest. But Alex generally didn't get home until 10 p.m. these past few days. I went back to the top floor, carrying my bag, and walked straight into Alex's office. The ghostly blue light of the computer reflected on the man's rimless glasses. When he concentrated on work, a cold, unapproachable air often emanated from him. Hearing the noise, he looked up. A warm temperature floated in his eyes. Why didn't you go home? I took a piece of chocolate from my bag, tore open the wrapper, and put it in his mouth. I scolded him, displeased. You haven't eaten all day, aren't you hungry? I wanted to ask why he didn't have his assistant get him something to eat, and didn't he know that would cause stomach problems. But thinking about him still working overtime, I didn't dare to bother him anymore. I lowered my head, kissed the side of his face, and said gruffly, I today want to wait for my boyfriend to go home with him. You keep working. I'll go play by myself on the sofa, don't mind me. After speaking, I turned and walked toward the sofa seating area. Alex stood up and pulled me back. He pinned me against the edge of the desk and leaned down. 1 minute. He said softly. A kiss without preamble swept away my breath. Around 9:40 p.m., only the two of us were left in the entire company building. Alex finished his overtime work. But he didn't seem to be in a hurry to leave work and go home. He hadn't taken off his glasses, and the cuffs of his shirt were rolled up to his forearms. One hand was casually tucked into his pocket, his steps unhurried. Are you hungry? I shook my head. I ate this afternoon. You haven't eaten anything, so you must be hungry. Let's hurry home and eat. Alex pulled me between his legs. No rush. Huh? I was confused. The back of Alex's hand gently rubbed my cheek, then slid down to my collarbone, stroking it with varying pressure. It was a very provocative action. My breathing rhythm was easily disrupted. Gidge, he hummed and abruptly turned my shoulders, making me face the floor-to-ceiling window. I wasn't quite sure what he meant. Not eating, but looking at the night view first. Until Alex's hands started to become restless. I trembled all over in shock. This is the office. Besides, aren't you hungry? I struggled desperately but couldn't move Alex an inch. I am hungry. The man's chin rested on my shoulder, and he smiled as he gently bit my ear. What should I do, my Mimi? He sanctimoniously asked for my permission. Will you let me eat? I've seen similar lines in the videos I've been watching recently. I'm going to eat you up tonight. And so on. But the word eat in those phrases refers to a specific activity, while Alex's eating was literally with his mouth. A security guard came up to check once during the process. I covered my mouth with both hands. The guard asked through the door, Is Mr. Hill still working overtime? Yes. After Alex gave the guard a perfunctory reply, his intense gaze locked onto me. Why are you so nervous? The office is soundproof. Even though he said that, I was still uneasy. I didn't take my hands down until the very last moment. The temperature in the office gradually cooled back to normal. My legs were so weak that taking a step felt like I would collapse. Alex quickly put an arm around my waist, picked me up horizontally, and walked out of the office. I huddled in his arms, trembling. Alex, you're a pervert, I'm breaking up with you. Alex glanced at the surveillance camera in the elevator and suddenly said, the elevator should be quite stimulating too. I gave up, hugging his shoulders obediently. Gidge, I was wrong. I tried the same trick again, intending to bite his neck to vent. But looking up, I noticed that the exhaustion in his eyes had vanished sometime earlier. I closed my open mouth. Alex had already reached the parking lot. He placed me in the passenger seat before asking, Why didn't you bite? Alex was amused, afraid I'll do it a second time in the car? Alex was like a completely different person when he was in a relationship. He even knew how to say suggestive things. I couldn't manage to stay angry. After struggling for a long time, all I could do was complain, You can't take advantage of the fact that I like you and am soft on you to keep bullying me like this. There's no second time today. I frowned seriously and whispered, The most important thing now is for you to eat something. Let's go home. I can bake you a cake. Alex listened to me quietly. After a long pause, he curved his lips into a smile. He leaned in, gently packing my lips as he fastened my seatbelt. Little girl, you need to be more careful with what you say from now on. I didn't curse or say anything suggestive. His lips lightly rubbed mine, his voice slightly husky. You're always being so direct, and I can't handle being teased like that. Alex has way too little self-control. Sure enough, starting a relationship too late in life causes a series of side effects. I celebrated my 22nd birthday at the Hill residence. Alex's parents hinted that it was time to register our marriage and have a wedding. Seeing me hesitate for a few seconds, Alex mistakenly thought I wasn't mentally ready. He made excuses for me and fended them off. He said he didn't want to tie me down with marriage so early and suggested we continue dating for now. The reason I didn't answer immediately was that I wanted to give him a wedding ring. But I didn't have enough money yet. After interning at the Hill Group for 1 week, I switched to a different job. And when I wasn't busy, I also took on a part-time job as an online tutor. A few days before the end of summer break, I used my accumulated salary to buy the pair of wedding rings I had been eyeing for 2 months. They had no diamonds, but the style was quite appealing. The last Sunday before school started was reported to be the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. I dragged Alex up the mountain to wait together. Around midnight, the meteor shower began. Alex leaned against the car, joking, "Are you going to make a wish?" I nodded emphatically twice. I pressed my hands together and closed my eyes devoutly. My only wish right now is for I suddenly turned around to face Alex. My eyes curved with my smile, and I loudly added, Alex, to say yes to my proposal. He stood rooted to the spot, staring at me intently. I took the ring box out of my pocket. My mind suddenly flashed back to the night 4 years ago when I went to beg him to marry me. After Alex agreed, he never let me go back home. He had his assistant call my father, saying he agreed to extend a helping hand to my family. The condition was that once I married him, I would be entirely his, would have no further ties to them, and they were not allowed to contact me again. That night, I slept in the guest room next to Alex's. In the early morning, I woke up from a nightmare. I dreamt that Uncle Wong forcibly dragged me into a room. I sat up, hugging the quilt and crying. Alex had just finished working in his study and hadn't gone to sleep yet. He heard the noise as he passed by, knocked, and came in. I haltingly told him about the dream. "Gidge, I'm so scared, later, I won't have a father, just me alone. It will be easy for him to find out which school I go to. Then he'll find me and harass me." Alex tirelessly wiped away my tears. When the tissues ran out, he directly grabbed the tie from the front of his shirt and used it to wipe my face. "Charlotte, the things you're worried about will never happen. You are not alone, Alex will always be your shield. I agreed to marry you not as a convenient measure to deal with your father." His gentle voice gradually calmed me down. "I'm taking responsibility for your entire life, so you can do whatever you want." Alex smiled, gently rubbing my red and swollen eyes with his fingertip. "When you were little, I kept you by my side for 5 years. I raised you like a princess during those 5 years. How could I possibly let you suffer now?" My first proposal was a desperate plea for help. This was the second time. Since I felt too embarrassed to come empty-handed again, I saved up to buy a pair of wedding rings. We were enveloped by meteors overhead, symbolizing hope and expectation. Alex seemed to finally regain his ability to move. He walked closer, looking down at the ring box. It was impossible to read his emotions. He asked, "Are you sure? Charlotte, you're only 22. Aren't you afraid of what if, later?" "I'm not afraid." Alex proudly hesitated to reach out his hand. I directly lifted his hand, took off the engagement ring, and replaced it with the wedding ring. I said slowly, "How could getting married be the same no matter who it is? I don't have pre-wedding anxiety, and I don't see marriage as a restriction. It's all simply because the person I'm marrying is you." I admired the man's long, well-defined fingers, with the ring on. Even a simple band looked much more refined. A smile spread across Alex's lips as he examined the ring. "What does this mean? You're trying to marry me?" I placed the other ring in his palm. "Yes, exactly. Please say yes to me." Tiny bits of laughter twinkled in Alex's eyes. He placed the ring on my ring finger. His tone was softer than it had ever been. "Machem, I agree to marry you." Alex wrapped me in his arms, and we continued to watch the meteor shower. After a moment, a meteor streaked across the sky above us. Before disappearing into the nebula, it glittered with a brilliant and dazzling light. It was as if it was telling me, "I helped you grant your wish."